Hello and welcome to the first episode of the World Tour Pit Stop with me, your host Flair Dramatique. Hold for applause. Yes, thank you, and today I am joined by a very special guest, the host of Unnamed Superstars, Ash Ketchum. Hello, Ash.
Hello, Flair, and thank you for the invitation. Both Yugi and I are very big fans of World Tour, and I couldn't be more delighted to be here tonight.
Thank you. As it turns out, Verasika and I are very big fans of Unnamed Superstars here too. Actually, as a matter of fact, you had Verasika on an episode last season, didn't you? I assume my invitation got lost in the mail?
Of course not, we just wanted to save the best of what World Tour has to offer for Season 2. It was a delight having Verasika on set last season. It's clear she's a professional. The way she handled the queens and dealt with that delinquent Tatsumi just shows she was the right woman for the job.
Oh, please, I've seen how Verasika handles delinquents. Let's just say I'm thankful Verasika and Tatsumi didn't meet a few years ago, or Verasika probably would have started dating him. Actually, no, who am I kidding? Tatsumi makes some of the men Verasika dated look like husband material. Anyways, let's talk a bit about Unnamed Superstars before we get into it. You recently finished your first season, which, spoiler alert, resulted in a double crowning between Kay and Nesdeep, making it the third double crowning in cartoon drag race history. Tell me, when do you think you decided that these were the queens you were gonna crown?
The double crowning was an interesting one because Kay had been a bit of a dark horse all competition. If I'm honest, Yugi and I didn't expect him to make it past the first few weeks, but he showed us week after week that he's a fighter and he was really in his element by the end of the competition. Ace Staith, on the other hand, she knew right from the start she was that bitch. She slayed week after week and she straddled the line between villain and fan favorite very well, leading to some iconic moments. I think her "who should go home tonight" moment was my favorite bit of the entire season.
Ace Staith really made the competition her bitch. Every series has that one queen that somebody thinks of as soon as you mention it. For instance, somebody talks about cartoon drag race, you think of Lola. Somebody talks about Holland, you think of Lemmy. Somebody talks about Down Under, you think who? And I feel like Ace Staith is that queen for Unnamed Superstars. Talking about Kay, were there any other queens that surprised you? And actually, were there any queens you thought could have gone further?
If I'm honest, I really saw Mewtwo and Olivier in the finale. I felt for them because they were both doing well but had a bad week, and sometimes that's all it takes to send you home. As for queens I thought could have gone further, as much as he was a pest on set, I really came to love Daijin. His quick wit and playful banter made him a very entertaining queen to watch.
You know, Daijin is definitely one of the most recognizable names for Unnamed Superstars. I really feel like if he had made it past that week he would have gone way further.
I agree. Daijin for all stars.
Now moving on to World Tour, we've got 4 episodes to cover. And let's start all the way back at the beginning. 6 months ago. Most seasons would be finished by now, but anyways, it has been a while, so we're here to recap and remind everyone everything important that's gone on this season. There's too much to cover in one video, so we'll just try and focus on the important stuff. So the queens do their entrances, and Pizzazz is the first ever queen to walk in the World Tour workroom. Tell me, Ash, do you think being the first entrance actually matters?
Well, I know a lot of people say first and last out, but how often does that actually happen? And judging from the latest episode, it certainly didn't work for Pizzazz, now did it?
See, I honestly think it does matter, because if you're the first one in, there's a brief moment where all the attention is on you. And that is a perfect opportunity to get some free screen time. If I'm watching Drag Race and a girl walks and first does her introduction, and then they just cut to the next bitch walking in, I think to myself, oh, she must be boring. Tell me, Ash, just going off their entrances and first impressions, who stood out to you?
Alexis, definitely. She knew exactly who she was walking through the door, and she let us know that. Yugi rated her a queen of games, and I believe he's taught classes at Duel Academy. I'd honestly be surprised not to see her in the finale. I would also say Gojo stood out to me.
Oh, I wonder why.
I think like most of the internet, I fell into Gojo's thirst trap, and I'll admit I'm partial to a pretty boy. Gojo, if you're watching, feel free to swing by Unnamed Superstars anytime, Yugi, and I would be happy to have you
as a guest judge, right?
I didn't say that.
Tell me, Ash, if you were on Drag Race, what would your entrance line be?
That's a good question. I think mine would be, "I'm gonna be the very best." Like no queen ever was.
Very on brand. For me, I fear I would have to commit a bit of thievery. Bowie walking in the workroom of Brazil, proceeding to drop my favorite entrance line of all time. Lights, Camera, Sabotage has been living in my head rent-free since I watched it. So Verasika walks in the workroom and tells the queens that the first challenge is a design challenge. Do you think that's an appropriate challenge for the first week?
Definitely, and let me tell you why. How many queens walk onto a cartoon drag series and don't know how to sew? If you're gonna be taken seriously as a drag artist, you better know how to sew or pull an Alice and be a whiz with hot glue. The design challenges separates the good from the greats.
You know it's coming. So there's really no excuse at this point. Which is why it's so surprising that Tracer, the queen with probably the biggest career and following this season, reveals to the rest of the group she's not exactly the best sewer.
Absolutely, I was shocked to hear that. But I also do get her reasoning. I can confirm that being a big name means you get so booked and blessed you really do have less time to sew and you can lose the skill. But of course that's not a full excuse, because what are you going to do if something rips or you need to do some last-minute touch-ups?
So what you're saying is you don't believe her and think she lied about even knowing how to sew in the first place.
Now Flair, don't put words in my mouth.
But in any case it's alright because Charlie comes up to her and offers her some assistance. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know how I feel about it. As a viewer and a host, I'd say if a castmate comes up to offer help, the right answer is no. But as a person, I also know that if someone offered me help, I'd take it. I'm a whiz with a sewing machine, but I'd act like I didn't know a thing.
Just hand it to them and go take a nap.
Sewing machine? What's one of those? Who's RuPaul? Where am I?
But after some select words from Gojo, Tracer decides to send Charlie away and finish working on it herself. While on the other side of the workroom, talks of an alliance are brewing between Evil Lyn and Pizzes. Do you think it's smart making an alliance on week 1 with a queen who's a complete stranger?
Well, you do definitely want to build alliances if you want to go far in the game, even if it's just a morale boost. Though at the same time you have to choose your alliances wisely, and Evil Lyn choosing Pizzazz of all people is, well, it's a choice.
So Scarlet wins the first Maxi challenge. How do you think she must be feeling right now?
Well, you would have to be feeling pretty good. An early win establishes your dominance, and if you mess up later down the line, the judges have more reason to keep you. Not only that, we all know more sewing challenges are coming, so Scarlet has established herself as a threat.
Remind me if you would, Ash, who won the first challenge on Name Superstars? You know, I suspect he didn't actually read your mind. He just read off a list of hot guys, and the two just happened to overlap.
I plead the fifth.
Now the bottom two are Tracer and Lucy. How do you think both these girls are feeling right now?
Being bottom 2 week 1 is a horrible feeling. There's so much you still want to show, and your dreams could be ripped away. Tracer is the biggest name, so I imagine she's terrified of letting down the people who believed in her, while Lucy, who didn't have much of a following, is probably terrified of going against a titan like Tracer.
But after all's said and done, Tracer stays and Lucy is our first queen to sashay away. How do you think she must be feeling?
Absolutely crushed. No one wants to be the pork chop. But you know what? The pork chops are often more remembered than the coasters and other early outs. And I think if you're going to be a pork chop, you'd want to be the very first one. It can make you more of an icon. Just look at Koopa.
Now moving on to week 2, and our queens are now starring in an improv murder mystery, and there's a bit of drama this week. For starters, Beatrice and Scarlet are both looking at the same role, and Goho originally wants to give it to Beatrice, but Scarlet's very vocal about her thoughts and takes the role for herself. How did you feel about this?
Honestly, that's some queen energy right there. It's a competition and you have to fight for what you want. That being said, I don't know if I'd cross Beatrice. She seems like the kind of queen who would wait patiently and exact her revenge at the right moment.
You think Scarlet needs to watch her back this season?
Well, we never know what to expect from Beatrice, so I'd say it's possible.
Now Scarlet and Beatrice aren't the only queens to get into it, since Charlie and Tracer also eye up the same role, and Tanya strong arms Charlie into giving her the role. Do you think this is crossing a line?
Well, like I said, it's a competition and any strategy that gets you in the top is valid, but strong arming definitely isn't for me. Especially since I'm talented enough to slay any role regardless.
See, I have to be honest. I feel for Charlie, but I'm very much the same mindset as Tanya. I want something, I'm gonna take it and apologize later. And Charlie, poor girl, if she really wanted the role, she should have fought for it. Now some cracks begin to show in the alliance between Pizzazz and Lyn, and she starts seeking a second secret alliance in Scarlet. Do you think this is a smart move?
Well, seeing the type of drag Pizzazz has been serving, I definitely would have also jumped ship. And having won the first challenge, I think I would have gone for Scarlet too.
Now Tracer wins the challenge in a complete 180 from last week, and similarly Scarlet finds herself lip-syncing again, and
I imagine Tracer is definitely relieved, because I think the only real way to redeem yourself from flopping week 1 would be to win. She had to step it up, and that's exactly what she did. And as for Scarlet, if you fight for a role and flop, that's on you. There's no one else to blame. But you can't really think about that, you need to be fully focused on the lip sync and process your feelings later.
Speaking of feelings, we had a spicy bit of sabotage in Untucked just before the lip sync, didn't we, with Lyn psyching Ann out? Girl!
Listen, as a host I have to say that kind of behavior is completely unacceptable. But as a viewer, I kinda live. There's always gonna be those kind of people trying to psych you out, not just in the workroom, in life. You need to just learn how to ignore them.
So rude, but I do have to admit it's such good television. I know Veronica loves a rotted bitch, and Evil Lynn secured her spot on All Stars with this one episode one thing. As for me, I know I only joined the judging panel this episode, but Anne was one of my queens that I pushed to be on the season, so I may have egged Evil Lynn's car after filming this episode. Allegedly. We do unfortunately have to say goodbye to Anne, a true robbery. I really feel like she had so much more to show. But at the end of the day, it is the game, and like you said, one bad week can send a girl home. So moving into week 3, the girls don't even get a moment to breathe before Evil Lynn and Pizz's alliance completely blows up in front of everyone, and Evil Lynn now has to face the music that she is going into the next challenge completely alone. If you were her, how do you think she would be feeling?
I imagine she's feeling frustrated, but here's the thing. If you're going to be a villain with secret alliances, you need to make sure you can trust the people in your alliances. Lynn jumping into an alliance without knowing the first thing about Pizzazz was definitely a mistake, and it bit her in the behind.
See, I think Lynn starting an alliance at all wasn't a smart move. All Stars? Sure, but honestly, how useful is an alliance on a regular season? If they're picking your lipstick, you want as many queens on your side as possible. But here, if you're lip-syncing for your life, they're just gonna be stood at the back, not up on stage as your background dancers. So I really don't see the point, honestly. Speaking of backup dancers, this week we have a Rusical, and Scarlett gets to delegate the roles, and I think she played this smart.
Making Beatrice the lead role and the way she stopped her from wriggling out of it was very smart, and giving Pizzazz Evil Lynn's role so she didn't have Pizzazz mad at her and had Evil Lynn silent was a huge gag. I think Scarlett was a good example of how to be shady in a sneaky way here.
Scarlett knows the show, and that's a role most people would shy away from, but she knew that if you slay that role, it'll look good for her, and it was. Now the queens are all assigned their role, go off to learn their lines, and in their infinite wisdom, Charlie tries to go up to Lynn and befriend her.
Charlie needs to learn the difference between a green and a red flag. I fear she might be colorblind.
It's not a very smart move. Charlie is definitely a queen too focused on others instead of herself this season, I fear.
She needs to get her head in the competition, or else it won't end well for her.
Now a little less drama and a little more on the heartwarming side. We have Scarlett and Tracer talking about their families and how they feel leaving them at home. Can you imagine being separated from your family for so long?
It must be hard, especially for some queens who make it far in the competition. I think it's why messages from home always hit so hard.
See, me personally, I'd like to spend a little less time with Veronica, but I think these queens need to remember you spend a few months away from home for a chance at $100,000. Suck it up, Buttercup.
I agree, though at the speed your sister films episodes it would be more like years.
How dare you? My sister is a hardworking woman. No, I gagged. Shady, shady bitch. Anyways, speaking of messages from home, Lilith gets one, and she reveals that she's had thoughts of leaving the competition, and Lynn, who's in the bottom, tries to convince her to do so.
Again, horrible behavior, but my god, I can't deny I was living.
Lynn is a horrible, horrible little person, but my god does she make some amazing television. An absolutely rotted bitch. She wants the call for House of Villains, I think. But then the day is saved by Beatrice of all people, who walks in and defends Lilith.
I'm not that surprised, actually. Beatrice is definitely playing up her drag persona for the camera, but I think underneath that act there's a more caring side of her. But admittedly, Beatrice will do anything to get screen time, so what do I know?
So Alexis, your queen, wins the challenge, and she's been in the top for the past 2 weeks, making her the frontrunner.
She has stomped, slayed and strutted all over these queens. She is the moment.
Now Beatrice and Evil Lynn lip sync, and Beatrice ends up sending Lynn home.
Lynn, I love a villain, but I think she was too evil and she didn't really have any other qualities this season. If she actually had the talent to back up her actions, I might have lived for her, but everything she did this season was in someone else's shadow.
After her elimination, the queens walk back into the workroom, and Charlie immediately starts crying because all her friends, which in her mind is everyone on Earth, keep getting sent home.
It's a lot of emotion, I will say.
Charlie, she seems like a nice gal, but honestly, if I had to spend as much time with her as these queens are, I think I'd snap.
Charlie is a sweet queen, but I don't think she's quite ready yet.
Do you think she still has time to get her shit together this season?
Honestly, no. It's a hard lesson to learn, but you can't keep putting other people's needs above your own. She needs to learn how to have boundaries and take care of herself. But once she learns that, I think she'll be a force.
So this week's challenge is the Snatch Game, and while the queens are talking about their Snatch Game, Evil Lynn walks in the workroom, having left some possessions behind. What follows is a wild ride as Pizzazz takes them, changing her character to Evil Lynn herself, while Lynn manipulates Charlie into stealing what she believes in one of Evil Lynn's dresses, only to later learn it was actually Pizzazz's runway for this week.
Full T, I was living for this. Pizzazz. Every season needs a queen you dislike, and for me it's her, so it was fun to see her get her comeuppance, and with Evil Lynn already eliminated and Pizzazz just being Pizzazz, I didn't feel bad living for her actions this week.
Now fast forwarding into Untucked, Charlie gets a message from home, and she breaks down crying after worrying about her performance this season, and letting people at home down. The other queens try hammering home the message that she needs to stop focusing on everyone else, but I don't think she gets it.
Like I said, she just isn't ready yet. But once she learns this lesson, I do think she could dominate an all-star season.
While the queens are off doing their own thing just before they return to the runway, Beatrice goes up to Charlie and starts talking to her about their home lives. This is by far the most we've seen Beatrice open up this season. So tell me, Ash, do you think this was another ploy for screen time from Beatrice, or perhaps there was some genuine kindness there?
Why not both? Look, Beatrice knows exactly what she's doing, and like I said, there's something more to Beatrice, but I don't think I can put my finger on it yet. She definitely puts on just enough to let us see under the facade and leave us wanting more, and I can't lie, I've fallen for it hook, line and sinker.
Beatrice is handling this reality TV situation like a pro, and she ends up winning the Snatch Game, redeeming herself from last week. Now Snatch Game is the most important challenge. So do you think Beatrice feels good about this win?
Snatch Game is the challenge that I think proves who's a threat. I can't quite remember how many exactly, but it's not unusual to see queens do well on Snatch Game and make it to the finale or even win, so I imagine Beatrice is feeling pretty good right now.
Now Alexis and Pizzazz end up lip-syncing, and where Pizzazz does better in the lip-sync, Alexis actually ends up staying over her. Do you agree with this?
Absolutely. Just look at the quality of their drag and their track records and you can see who deserves it more. While I do think sometimes track record should be considered, the audience wants the queens who deserve to make it further go further, and Pizzazz got off at the right stop, I fear.
So what you're saying is a queen's track record should be considered over how badly she does in a lip sync. Olivier is watching this somewhere and screaming.
Oop, you gagged me. But you can't just rely on your track record, and I do think this was a lucky escape for Alexis. Hopefully this wakes her up and lights a fire under her ass.
Now Ash, just before we go, let me just go over the track record so far. Scarlett, Tracer, Alexis, and Beatrice all have one win, and they all have one bottom placement. Alexis and Tracer both have the exact same track record with 2 highs, and there are 3 queens, Gojo, Charlie, and Flairion, who have never placed in the top 3, with Gojo having only placed safe all season. Do you think it's still early enough for everyone to catch up, or are some queens still dead in the water?
I think it is still anybody's game at this point, but there are a couple queens who I don't think are bringing the fire it takes to win. I think Charlie and Flairion just aren't there yet for me, and if I had to bet money, I'd say they're the next 2 out. Choosing one, I'd probably have to say Flairion, since I do think he's had more lucky escapes. As for who I think are my winner picks, right now I definitely have to say Alexis, just looking at the material, and honestly Beatrice. Tanya I think is a good dark horse pick. I see some potential in her, but I'm not sure about winner.
Well, Ash, thank you so much for being here today. I've enjoyed having you here, and I will be seeing you on the set of season 2. And just a warning, if any queens act the way Tatsumi did last season, I will be using my umbrella in ways that will need to be censored.
Duly noted, and we look forwards to having you.
And as for you at home, thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for what World Tour has in store. But that's all for now. Bye.